Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stared at his screen. The numbers made no sense. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The readings were still there, still impossible. "Computer, run a full diagnostic on sensor array 7, he said. The computer's voice was calm. Diagnostic complete. All systems operating within normal parameters. Jake felt his stomach drop. If the sensors were working fine, and what he was seeing was real, something was out there in the darkness between the stars. Something that shouldn't exist. The monitoring station Sentinel Prime floated alone at the edge of known space. It was the Empire's most advanced early warning system. Nothing could move through this sector without them knowing about it. That was what they had always believed. Jake's hands moved across his controls. He zoomed in on the object. It was small, maybe the size of a shuttlecraft, but it was moving wrong. Ships needed engines to push them through space. This thing had no engine trail, no heat signature, no energy readings at all. It just glided through the void like a ghost. "Morrison, what's got you so focused over there?" asked Sergeant Linda Walsh from the next console. "Take a look at this," Jake said. He transferred his readings to her screen. Linda's face went pale. "That can't be right. Nothing moves like that. Tell me about it," Jake muttered. He opened a communication channel. "Command, this is Sensor Station Alpha. We have an unknown contact approaching from Grid 779. The response came quickly. "Station Alpha, please confirm your readings." "Confirmed, Command. Single vessel, unknown configuration. No recognizable propulsion system. Current heading suggests approach to Nexus Prime." There was a long pause. Then, "Station Alpha, maintain continuous monitoring. Do not attempt contact. Command out." Jake exchanged glances with Linda. In 12 years of service, he had never heard command sound worried. They always had answers. They always knew what to do. Admiral Catherine Blake was reviewing supply reports when the priority message arrived. She had been expecting another routine briefing about shipping delays or equipment failures. Instead, she found herself reading something that made her question her own sanity. "Johnson, get me a direct line to Sentinel Prime," she ordered her aide. "Yes, Admiral. Connecting now." Catherine studied the data package while she waited. The vessel was unlike anything in their databases. The Empire had contacted 412 different species over the past 3,000 years. They had seen every type of ship design imaginable. But this was different. "Sentinel Prime, this is Admiral Blake. I need you to walk me through exactly what you're seeing." Lieutenant Commander Morrison's voice crackled through the speakers. "Admiral, the vessel appeared on our sensors 3 hours ago. It's maintaining a steady course toward the core systems. No response to our standard identification requests." "What about its design? Can you get me visual confirmation?" "We're too far out for visual, Admiral. But the energy patterns are unlike anything we've seen. It's almost like the ship is bending space around itself." Catherine felt a chill run down her spine. Space-bending technology was theoretical at best. The Empire's best scientists had been working on it for centuries without success. "Continue monitoring. I want updates every hour. Blake out." She closed the communication and stared at the data again. In all her years of service, she had never encountered anything the Empire couldn't explain or handle. They were the masters of the galaxy. They had the best technology, the strongest military, the most advanced science. So why did she feel so afraid? Captain Ryan Scott received the intercept order while his ship was patrolling the outer rim. The Imperial Thunder was a fast attack cruiser designed for quick strikes against pirates and smugglers. It was not built for first contact with unknown alien species. "Helm, set course for the intercept coordinates," Ryan ordered. "Course laid in, Captain," replied his navigator, Ensign Bobby Clark. Ryan studied the briefing materials. The unknown. Vessel was still 3 days away from any inhabited systems. That gave them time to make contact and assess the threat. Standard procedure was to offer escort to the nearest diplomatic station. Most species were happy to establish trade relationships with the Empire, but something about this felt different. The ship's movement patterns were too perfect, too controlled. It suggested a level of technology that should have been impossible. "Captain, we're approaching the intercept point," announced his tactical officer, Commander Pete Adams. On screen, the main viewer activated, showing the starfield ahead. At first, Ryan saw nothing unusual. Then his sensors officer spoke up. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV. Distance, 50,000 kilometers." Ryan squinted at the screen. "I don't see anything." "Computer, enhance image in grade 7. The image sharpened, and Ryan's breath caught in his throat. The ship was beautiful. Its hull was smooth and silver, reflecting the light of distant stars. It had no obvious weapons, no external engines, no communication arrays. It looked more like a work of art than a spacecraft. "Hail them," Ryan ordered. "Channel open, Captain." "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Ryan Scott of the Imperial Thunder. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." They waited. The alien ship continued on its course without responding. "Try again," Ryan said. "Unknown vessel. You are entering Imperial space. Please respond to our hail." Still nothing. Ryan felt sweat beading on his forehead. In his 15 years of service, he had never met a species that refused to communicate. Even the most hostile aliens would at least acknowledge contact attempts. "Sir, should we move to intercept?" asked Commander Adams. Ryan hesitated. The standing orders were clear. Unknown vessels that refused to identify themselves were to be stopped and boarded. But something about this ship made him nervous. It was too calm, too confident, like it wasn't worried about them at all. "Maintain current distance. Continue hailing attempts." Dr. Lisa Park was in her laboratory when the emergency summons arrived. She was studying tissue samples from a newly discovered species when her communicator chimed. "Dr. Park, report to Admiral Blake's office immediately." Lisa sighed and put down her microscope. Emergency meetings usually meant another false alarm about some new threat to the Empire. In her 20 years as a xenobiologist, she had seen dozens of species that were supposed to be dangerous turn out to be completely harmless. Admiral Blake's office was crowded when she arrived. The heads of intelligence, science, and military operations were all present. That was unusual. These people rarely agreed on anything. "Dr. Park, thank you for coming," Admiral Blake said. "We have a situation that requires your expertise." Blake activated a holographic display showing the mystery vessel. Lisa studied it carefully, noting the unusual design elements and the complete lack of recognizable technology. "Have you attempted communication?" she asked. "Multiple attempts. No response. The ship appears to be heading directly for Nexus Prime." Lisa frowned. Nexus Prime was the Empire's capital world, home to 50 billion people and the seat of government. If this was some kind of attack, the casualties could be enormous. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Analysis." "In your opinion, what are we dealing with?" Lisa studied the data again. The ship's energy patterns were unlike anything she had seen. Most species developed technology along similar lines. They discovered fire, then metals, then electricity, then spaceflight. The progression was predictable, but this ship suggested a completely different path of development. It operated on principles that seemed to ignore known physics. "I need more data," she said finally. "But based on what I'm seeing, this species has technology far beyond anything we've encountered." The room fell silent. The Empire had never met a species with superior technology. They were always the most advanced civilization in any contact scenario. "How far beyond?" asked Intelligence Director Campbell. Lisa chose her words carefully. If I had to guess, I'd say they're about as far ahead of us as we are ahead of Stone Age primitives. The silence stretched longer. Finally, Admiral Blake spoke. Recommendations? Caution, Lisa said. Extreme caution. If this species wanted to harm us, we might not be able to stop them. As the meeting broke up, Lisa remained behind. She stared at the holographic display, studying the elegant lines of the alien vessel. Something about it seemed familiar. Though she couldn't place what dot, she had the strangest feeling that this was only the beginning. High Admiral Marcus Stone stood in the war room of the Imperial Command Center. The massive holographic display showed the positions of every ship in the fleet. Red dots marked the locations of 12 heavy cruisers and 40 fighter squadrons. They formed a perfect sphere around the unknown vessel. "All units in position, Admiral," reported Captain Julie Anderson from the communication station. Marcus nodded. It was the largest force ever assembled for a first contact situation. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Surely it would be enough to make any alien species think twice about hostile actions. "Open a channel to all ships," Marcus ordered. "Channel. Open, sir. This is High Admiral Stone to all units. Remember, our primary goal is peaceful contact. Do not fire unless fired upon. However, be ready for anything." Commander Alex Turner sat in the cockpit of his fighter, the Stellar Hawk. Around him, 39 other fighters maintained formation. He had flown in dozens of combat missions against pirates and rebels. This felt different. The unknown ship sat in the center of their formation, like it didn't have a care in the world. "All fighters, this is Gold Leader." Alex spoke into his communicator. "Maintain current positions. Keep your weapons powered, but do not lock on target." "Copy. Gold." "Leader," came the responses from his wing. Alex studied the alien vessel through his canopy. It was even more beautiful up close. The hull seemed to shift colors as it moved, like oil on water. There were no visible seams or joints. It looked like it had been grown rather than built. "Gold Leader, this is the cruiser Dominator. We're beginning our approach." Alex watched as the massive Imperial cruiser moved toward the alien ship. The Dominator was 800 meters long and carried enough weapons to level a city. It dwarfed the small alien craft. Captain Maria Santos commanded the Dominator. She had been in the Imperial Navy for 25 years and had never lost a battle. But as her ship approached the unknown vessel, she felt something she hadn't experienced in decades: uncertainty. "Tactical, what are our sensors telling us?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Frank Williams studied his displays. "The alien ship is generating no detectable energy emissions. No shields, no weapons, no engines. It's like looking at a piece of debris." "Debris doesn't fly in perfect straight lines," Maria muttered. "Helm, bring us to within 1,000 meters. "Aye, Captain. 1,000 meters." The Dominator slowed as it approached the alien craft. Through the main viewer, the mysterious ship looked even stranger. Its surface was perfectly smooth, like polished metal, but it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Alien vessel. This is Captain Santos of the Imperial cruiser Dominator. You are surrounded by Imperial forces. Identify yourself immediately, or we will consider you hostile." The alien ship continued its steady course. No response came. "Captain, should we deploy a boarding party?" asked her first officer. Commander Gary Mitchell. Maria considered the option. Boarding an unknown vessel was dangerous, but it might be their only way to get answers. "Prepare a boarding team, but hold position for now." On the bridge of his flagship, High Admiral Stone watched the standoff develop. Hours passed with no communication from the alien vessel. His patience was running out. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the fleet," said his aide, Colonel Tim Roberts. The alien ship is having strange effects on our sensors. Some ships are reporting equipment malfunctions. Stone frowned. What kind of malfunctions? Navigation systems are showing impossible readings. Some tactical displays are flickering. Nothing serious yet, but it's consistent across multiple ships. That was troubling. The Empire's technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. For an alien ship to interfere with their systems, just by being present, suggested capabilities they didn't understand. Signal the fleet. All ships are to increase power to shields and maintain maximum alert status. Dr. Kevin Wright worked frantically. In his laboratory, aboard the science vessel Discovery. The readings from the alien ship made no sense according to everything he knew about physics. The vessel appeared to exist in a state of controlled space-time distortion. Computer, run theoretical model Gamma 7, he ordered. Processing. Model complete. Probability of accuracy, 0.01%. Kevin rubbed his temples. Every theoretical model came back with the same result. What the alien ship was doing should be impossible. It violated fundamental laws of physics. Dr. Wright, we're getting strange readings from the forward sensors, reported his assistant. Dr. Nancy Ford. Kevin looked at the new data. His blood ran cold. Get me a direct line to the Admiral. Emergency priority. Channel open, Doctor. Admiral Stone, this is Dr. Wright on the Discovery. Sir, you need to pull the fleet back immediately. Explain, Doctor. The alien vessel is generating a field that's affecting the quantum structure of space around it. I don't know how, but it's building up energy. If it reaches critical mass, the transmission cut off. Every screen in the war room went blank for 3 seconds. When they came back online, 3 of the red dots were gone. Report! Stone shouted. Captain. Anderson's face was white. Sir, we've lost contact with the Dominator, the Vengeance, and the Retribution. They're just gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? Their transponders have stopped transmitting. Visual confirmation shows empty space where they were positioned. Stone stared at the display. 3 heavy cruisers. Over 6,000 crew members. Simply vanished without a trace. Commander Alex Turner saw it happen from his fighter. One moment, the 3 cruisers were there. The next, they weren't. No explosion. No debris. No energy discharge. They simply ceased to exist. All fighters. This is Gold Leader. Fall back immediately. Full retreat, maximum speed. His wing didn't need to be told twice. 40 fighters turned and burned their engines. As hard as they could. Behind them, the alien vessel continued on its original course as if nothing had happened. Gold Leader to command. 3 cruisers have been destroyed. No visible weapon discharge. Recommend immediate withdrawal of all forces. The response came quickly. All units, this is Admiral Stone. Fall back to minimum safe distance. Do not. Repeat, do not engage the alien vessel. On Nexus Prime, Emperor Valdic the Eternal received the news in his private chambers. He was an old man now, over 300 years old thanks to life extension technology. In all his years of rule, no one had ever challenged the Empire's military might. How many ships did we lose? He asked General Patricia Morgan. 3 heavy cruisers, Your Majesty. Over 6,000 personnel. Valdic closed his eyes. 6,000 Imperial citizens. Dead in an instant. And we still don't know what we're dealing with? No, Your Majesty. The alien vessel shows no signs of weapon systems. Our scientists have no explanation for how the ships were destroyed. The Emperor stood and walked to his window. Outside, the capital city stretched to the horizon. 50 billion people lived on Nexus Prime, all of them under his protection, all of them counting on the Empire to keep them safe. Double the orbital defenses, he ordered. Recall the Fifth Fleet from the Outer Rim. And get me every scientist. We have working on this problem. Yes, Your Majesty. After the general left, Valdic remained at the window. In 3,000 years, the Empire had never faced a threat like this. They had conquered worlds, enslaved species, and crushed rebellions. But they had always understood their enemies. This was different. This was unknown. Intelligence Director. Nick Campbell worked through the night, searching every database in the Empire. Somewhere in their vast archives, there had to be a record of this species. The Empire had been exploring the galaxy for millennia. They had contacted hundreds of civilizations. But as the hours passed, he found nothing. No species in their records. Possessed technology capable of making ships disappear. No civilization had ever demonstrated such power. Sir, we're getting reports from across the Empire, said his assistant, Agent Carl Davis. News of the encounter is spreading. Some worlds are requesting additional fleet protection. Nick nodded grimly. Fear was spreading faster than the alien vessel. If they couldn't find answers soon, panic would grip the entire Empire. Contact all deep space monitoring stations. I want every sensor array focused on tracking this vessel. And get me a meeting with the Emperor's Science Council. The alien ship continued toward the core systems. It maintained its steady course, unaffected by the massive military response it had encountered. Behind it, the remaining Imperial forces followed at a respectful distance, afraid to get too close, but unwilling to let it out of their sight, in the depths of space. 3 empty patches marked where proud Imperial cruisers had once patrolled. The crews were gone. The ships were gone. Only questions remained. The Empire had always been the predator in any encounter with alien species. Now, for the first time in 3,000 years, they were the prey. And they had no idea what was hunting them. The message came without warning. Every communication device in the Empire received it at the same moment. From the smallest personal communicator to the massive broadcast arrays on capital worlds, the signal reached everywhere at once. Emperor. Valdic was meeting with his war council when every screen in the palace activated. The image that appeared was simple. A human face. Greetings, the figure said in perfect galactic standard. We are human. We have returned. The transmission lasted only 10 seconds. Then every screen went dark, returning to normal operation. But those 10 seconds changed everything. General Patricia Morgan was the first to break the silence. That's impossible. Humans are extinct. We made sure of that. Emperor Valdic's face had gone pale. He was old enough to remember the human campaigns. 2,000 years ago, the Empire had encountered a species calling themselves human. They lived on dozens of worlds throughout a region they called the Terran sector. The humans had been different from other species the Empire had conquered. They fought harder. They never surrendered. Even when their worlds were burning, they kept fighting. It had taken the Empire 50 years to defeat them completely. Sir, we need to access the classified archives, said Intelligence Director Campbell. The complete records of the human campaigns. Do it, Valdic ordered. I want to know everything. Colonel Sam Davis had been head of Imperial Historical Archives for 15 years. He thought he knew every major event in Empire history. But when he received the emergency authorization to access the deepest classified files, he discovered records he had never seen. The human campaigns had been brutal. The Empire's forces had conquered human worlds one by one, enslaving the populations or eliminating them entirely. The humans had fought back with weapons and tactics that impressed even Imperial generals. But what shocked Sam was what he found in the final campaign reports. The humans hadn't been completely destroyed. Small groups had escaped during the final battles. Transport ships had fled into unexplored space beyond the galaxy's edge. Computer, show me all references to human survivors, Sam commanded. The files that appeared made his blood run cold. Intelligence reports from the final years of the campaign mentioned human ships disappearing into the void reaches. The Empire had assumed they would die in the empty space between galaxies. They had been wrong. Sam opened a priority channel to the Emperor. Your Majesty, I need to report immediately. The humans. Some of them survived. Ambassador Claire Foster received her assignment with a mixture of fear and excitement. She was the Empire's most experienced diplomat, having negotiated with dozens of alien species. But she had never dealt with a species that had reason to hate the Empire. Your job is to establish peaceful contact, Admiral Blake explained. Find out what they want. Find out if we can coexist. Claire studied the files on human civilization. Before the Empire destroyed them, humans had been remarkable. They had developed space travel, advanced weapons, and complex societies. But they had also shown mercy to defeated enemies and protected weaker species. What if they want revenge? Claire asked. Blake's expression was grim. Then we try to negotiate. Because if they have the technology to make our cruisers disappear, we're not in a position to fight them. The human vessel, now identified as the Freedom's Edge, had stopped at the edge of the Nexus Prime system. It hung in space, waiting. Imperial forces maintained their distance, afraid to provoke another demonstration of its power. Captain Danny Brooks appeared on screens throughout the Empire. He was young, maybe 30 years old, with calm eyes and a steady voice. He looked completely human, but his uniform was unlike anything in Imperial records. People of the galaxy, he began. My name is Captain Danny Brooks of the Terran Republic. 2,000 years ago, your empire tried to destroy my people. You burned our worlds. You killed our families. You scattered us to the darkness between stars. The transmission was being broadcast to every inhabited world in the Empire. Billions of beings watched as the human captain continued his speech. But we survived. We learned. We grew stronger. We built new homes in places you never thought to look. And we remembered what you did to us. On the industrial world of Forge Prime, workers stopped their tasks to listen. Many of them were from species that had been conquered by the Empire generations ago. They understood what it meant to be victims of Imperial expansion. We could have returned as conquerors, Captain Brooks continued. We have the power to destroy your fleets. We could burn your worlds as you burned ours. But we choose a different path. General Tony Martinez, the alien governor of Forge Prime, felt his hands shaking. He had seen the reports of the destroyed cruisers. If the humans could do that to Imperial warships, what could they do to entire planets? We offer you a choice, the human captain said. Continue as you have, ruling through fear and oppression, or join us in building something better. A galaxy where all species can live in peace and freedom. The transmission ended. Across the Empire, rebellions began within hours. On the mining world of Kepler Station, the local population rose up against their imperial overseers. The Keplers had been slaves for 300 years, forced to work in dangerous mines to feed the Empire's industrial machine. Now they saw hope. Governor Janet Ross tried to maintain order, but her security forces were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. The mines shut down. The ore shipments stopped. Similar uprisings spread to dozens of worlds. Status report, Emperor Valdic demanded. General Morgan's voice was tired. Rebellions on 47 worlds and counting. The human transmission has inspired every subject species in the Empire. They think the humans will protect them. Will they? Unknown, Your Majesty. But the psychological impact is devastating. Our authority is based on fear. If people believe there's a power greater than ours, they lose that fear. The Emperor walked to his window again. The city below looked normal, but he knew it was an illusion. Across the galaxy, his empire was crumbling. 3,000 years of conquest and domination were unraveling because of a single alien ship. "How many humans are there?" he asked. "We don't know. A Freedom's Edge is the only ship we've detected. But given their technology, there could be thousands more hidden from our sensors." President Lisa Harper of the Terran Republic addressed the galaxy from the bridge of the Freedom's Edge. She was an older woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had survived the unthinkable. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began. "For 2,000 years, the Empire has told you that humans were extinct, that we were weak, that we deserved to be destroyed. These were lies." The transmission reached every corner of Imperial space. On the capital world of Nexus Prime, citizens gathered in the streets to watch on public screens. Many had never heard of humans before. The Empire had erased them from history books. "We survived because we adapted. We learned to live in the darkness between stars. We developed technology that works with nature instead of against it. We built a society based on cooperation instead of conquest." Dr. Corinne Mitchell, the Republic's chief scientist, appeared on screen beside the president. She began explaining human technology in simple terms. Their ships used quantum field manipulation to move through space. They had solved the problems of energy, disease, and scarcity that plagued other civilizations. "We offer to share this knowledge freely," President Harper continued, "not in exchange for resources or territory, but because we believe all beings deserve to live in peace and prosperity." The impact was immediate. Scientists across the Empire began analyzing the human technology. Descriptions. If even half of what the humans claimed was true, it would revolutionize galactic civilization. Commander Rick Stone of the human vessel New Horizon demonstrated their capabilities for the Imperial fleet. His ship appeared without warning next to the Imperial battle group surrounding the Freedom's Edge. "This is Commander Stone to Imperial forces. I'm going to disable your weapons and shields. This is not an attack. This is a demonstration." Before the Imperial commanders could respond, every ship in the fleet went dark. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. Life support remained online, but every military system shut down completely. "Your systems will return to normal in 1 hour," Commander Stone announced. "We wanted to show you that we could have destroyed you at any time. We chose not to." Admiral Blake sat in her command chair, staring at her darkened control panels. Every military instinct told her to fight back. But there was nothing to fight. The humans had neutralized her entire fleet without causing any damage. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "the humans are transmitting technical specifications for the field generators they used. They're giving us the plans for their weapons." Blake couldn't believe it. No military force in history had ever given their enemies the secrets to their own technology. But the humans seemed to operate by completely different rules. The Freedoms. Edge began moving toward Nexus Prime. The Imperial fleet followed, but they were no longer escorting a potential threat. They were witnessing the arrival of a new power in the galaxy, a power that could have destroyed them, but chose instead to offer them a better future. The age of the Empire was ending. The age of the Republic was about to begin. Admiral Catherine Blake stared at the reports flooding her command center. Red emergency lights flashed across dozens of star systems. The Empire was falling apart, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Status report on the Outer Rim. "Territories," she ordered. Commander Steve Wilson stepped forward with a datapad. His face was grim. 17 worlds have declared independence in the last 48 hours. The Altarian system has expelled all Imperial forces. The vegan colonies have stopped all tribute payments. Blake felt the headache building behind her eyes. For 3,000 years, the Empire had ruled through fear and superior technology. But fear meant nothing when faced with beings who had power beyond imagination. What about our fleet strength? Down by 30%, Admiral. Many ship commanders are refusing orders. Some are deserting outright. Captain Rodriguez of the Intrepid has requested asylum with the human forces. The irony wasn't lost on Blake. The Empire's own military was abandoning them for the descendants of a people they had tried to destroy. The humans weren't even recruiting defectors. Imperial officers were volunteering to join them. On the industrial world of Forge Prime, General Tony Martinez watched his authority crumble. The massive shipyards that had built Imperial cruisers were now under rebel control. Alien workers who had lived as second-class citizens for generations were now organizing their own government. "Sir, the human ship Peaceful Dawn has entered the system," reported his aide, Lieutenant Carl Jackson. Tony looked through his office window at the crowd celebrating in the streets below. Every alien species on the planet had joined the rebellion. Only his human security forces remained loyal, and even they were questioning their orders. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to a young human woman. She wore a simple uniform with no rank insignia. Her expression was kind but firm. "This is Commander Amy Williams of the Terran Republic. General Martinez, your presence is no longer required on this world. We've prepared transport for you and your staff to the Imperial capital." Tony was surprised. He had expected demands for surrender or threats of punishment. Instead, the human commander was offering him safe passage. "What about my security forces?" he asked. "Any who wish to leave are free to go. Any who wish to stay and help rebuild this world are welcome. The choice is theirs." It was not what Tony had expected. Throughout his military career, conquered populations were always punished. Enemy commanders were imprisoned or executed, but the humans seemed to operate by different rules. "Why?" he asked. "Why show mercy to your enemies?" "Commander," Williams smiled sadly, "because we remember what it felt like to be on the receiving end of imperial justice. We choose to be better." President Lisa Harper stood on the observation deck of the Freedom's Edge, watching Nexus Prime grow larger in the viewscreen. The Imperial capital was a beautiful world, with gleaming cities and orbital stations. It was hard to believe that so much suffering had been ordered from such a peaceful-looking place. "Ma'am, we're receiving hundreds of communication requests," reported Communications Officer Betty Chun. "Imperial governors, military commanders, even some members of the Emperor's Council. They all want to negotiate." Lisa nodded. "The Empire's leadership could see which way the wind was blowing. They were trying to save what they could from the collapse. Schedule meetings with anyone who wants to discuss peaceful transition, but make it clear, we're not interested in taking over the Empire. We want to help build something better." What about the Emperor himself? Lisa considered the question. Emperor Valdic was old, but he was still the symbol of imperial power. His fate would send a message to the rest of the galaxy about what the Republic stood for. Send him a personal invitation to meet with me. No preconditions, no demands. Just an offer to talk. Captain Greg Hayes commanded the human peacekeeping force aboard the vessel New Dawn. His ships were appearing throughout Imperial space, but not as conquerors. They were helping maintain order during the transition, protecting civilians from the chaos of governmental collapse. "Captain, we're getting requests for assistance from the Centauri colonies," reported his first officer, Commander Mary Roberts. "Imperial forces have withdrawn, but local warlords are trying to fill the power vacuum." Greg studied the tactical display. 3 human ships could easily handle any number of local military forces. But the goal wasn't military victory. It was establishing lasting peace. Deploy the New Dawn and the Liberty to Centauri. Rules of engagement are strictly defensive. Protect civilian populations, but don't impose our authority. Help the local governments establish themselves. What if the locals don't want our help? Then we leave. This isn't about conquest, Commander. It's about giving people the freedom to choose their own future. Emperor Valdek sat alone in his private study, surrounded by 3,000 years of imperial history. Ancient weapons, conquered artifacts, and portraits of previous emperors lined the walls. All of it seemed meaningless now. His personal aide, Colonel Tim Roberts, entered with the latest reports. Tim had served the imperial family for 20 years. He had never seen the emperor look so defeated. Your Majesty, the human president has requested a personal meeting. No guards, no weapons, no recording devices. Just the two of you. Valdek almost laughed. The ruler of the most powerful military force in the galaxy wanted to meet with him privately. It was either incredible arrogance or incredible trust. What do our advisors say? General Morgan thinks it's a trap. Intelligence Director Campbell believes they genuinely want to negotiate. The Science Council thinks we should agree to anything the humans ask. Valdek stood and walked to his window. The city below was quiet, but he could feel the tension. News of human technology was spreading. People were starting to wonder why they had lived in scarcity when abundance was possible. Schedule the meeting. He decided, if they wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. Dr. Nancy Collins worked frantically in the Imperial Archives, documenting everything she could about the collapse. As the Empire's chief historian, she wanted to record these events for future generations. The speed of the collapse was remarkable. The Empire had seemed unshakable just days ago. Now it was crumbling faster than anyone had thought possible. But the truly amazing thing was how little violence there had been. Computer, show me casualty reports from the rebellions, she commanded. The data that appeared surprised her. Despite uprisings on hundreds of worlds, the death toll was remarkably low. Human peacekeeping forces were preventing the worst violence. Even rebel forces seemed focused on building rather than destroying. She compared it to historical records of other governmental collapses. Usually, the fall of an empire meant chaos, war, and millions of deaths. But this was different. The humans weren't just destroying the old order. They were helping create a new one. On the mining world of Kepler Station, former slaves were learning to govern themselves. Elder Grusk, a Kepler who had worked in the mines for 60 years, now served as the elected leader of his people. The humans offer us technology to clean our poisoned air, he told the Council of Elders. They say they can restore the rivers and make the soil fertile again. Elder Marana, the oldest Kepler on the planet, spoke carefully. What do they want in return? Nothing, Grusk replied. They say it is a gift. They say all beings deserve to live on a healthy world. 5 years had passed since the Freedom's Edge first appeared at the galaxy's edge. The transformation was remarkable. Where once Imperial battleships had patrolled with guns ready, now peaceful trading vessels moved freely between the stars. Captain Amy Williams stood on the bridge of the Peaceful Dawn, watching construction ships work on the new Galactic Cooperative Council headquarters. The massive space station was being built jointly by dozens of species, each contributing their unique skills and knowledge. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, reported her communications officer, Ensign Tom Bradley. Amy smiled. Earth had been restored to habitability 3 years ago using human terraforming technology. It was now home to the Republic's government and served as a symbol of renewal for the entire galaxy. Put it through, Tom. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Director Kelly Foster, head of the Galactic Reconstruction Project. Kelly had once been an Imperial administrator. Now she coordinated efforts to rebuild worlds damaged by centuries of exploitation. Amy, I have good news from the Kepler system. The atmospheric restoration is complete. The air is clean, the water is pure, and plant life is returning to areas that were dead for generations. Amy felt a warmth in her chest. The Keplers had suffered so much under Imperial rule. To see their world healing was deeply satisfying. What about the people? She asked. Thriving. They've established 3 new cities using sustainable technology. Education levels are rising. Life expectancy has doubled. They're even starting to explore space travel again. It was a common story throughout the former empire. Species that had been oppressed for centuries were rediscovering their potential. The galaxy was becoming a richer, more diverse place. Former. Emperor Valdek worked in his new office on the Cooperative Council Station. The room was simple compared to his old palace, but he preferred it that way. He served now as special advisor for governmental transition, helping former imperial worlds establish democratic institutions. Valdek, we need to discuss the situation on Rigel 7, said his assistant, Maria Santos. She had once been captain of an imperial cruiser. Now she helped coordinate peacekeeping efforts. Valdek reviewed the files. Rigel 7 had been an imperial, industrial world. The factories had polluted the environment and exploited the local population. Now that the planet was independent, they were struggling to rebuild. What kind of help do they need? He asked. Technical assistance with environmental cleanup, economic advisors to help establish fair trade, and someone to mediate between the different ethnic groups. Valdek made notes on his datapad. I'll recommend Dr. Mitchell for the environmental work. She's the best we have. For economic planning, maybe former Governor Ross. She has experience with industrial transitions. What about the ethnic tensions? That's trickier. I'll ask President Harper if she can spare Ambassador Chun. She has a gift for bringing people together. It was rewarding work. Valdek was using his knowledge of imperial bureaucracy to help create something better. After decades of ruling through fear, he was learning to govern through cooperation. Dr. Karen Mitchell piloted her research vessel through the asteroid belt of the Titan system. The massive mining operation that had once stripped resources for the Empire was being converted into a peaceful research station. Dr. Mitchell were detecting unusual energy patterns from asteroid TT-47, reported her research assistant, Professor John Walker. Karen adjusted her sensors. The readings were indeed unusual. The asteroid contained traces of an unknown mineral that seemed to amplify quantum fields. Take us in for a closer look, John. As they approached the asteroid, Karen's instruments detected something remarkable. The mineral could potentially revolutionize space travel, even beyond current human technology. But unlike in the old Empire, this discovery would be shared freely with all species. Computer, transmit our findings to the Galactic Science Council. Mark it for immediate distribution to all member worlds. Transmission complete, Dr. Mitchell. Karen smiled. Under the Empire, such a discovery would have been classified and used for military advantage. Now it would benefit everyone equally. Admiral Catherine Blake had traded her imperial uniform for the simple blue of the Cooperative Defense Force. Her new flagship, the Harmony, was designed for rescue operations and disaster relief rather than warfare. Admiral, we are receiving a distress call from the vegan colonies, reported Commander Steve Wilson, her former imperial aide who had chosen to stay with her. What's the situation? Natural disaster. Solar flares have damaged their power grid. The backup systems are failing. Blake checked her fleet positions. The Harmony and the New Hope are closest. Set course immediately. Alert the engineering teams. Yes, Admiral. It felt good to be helping instead of threatening. Blake's ships now carried medical supplies and reconstruction equipment instead of weapons. They were tools of peace rather than instruments of war. The Vegan colonies welcomed the human relief ships with joy. Children who had grown up fearing Imperial vessels now ran to greet the crews. It was a powerful reminder of how much had changed. Commander Rick Stone received his new assignment while docked at the Centauri Research Station. He was being promoted to captain and given command of the exploration vessel Starseeker. Your mission is to survey the unexplored regions beyond the galactic rim, explained Admiral Hayes, his new commanding officer. We want to make peaceful contact with any civilizations we encounter. Rick studied the star charts. The mission would take his ship into completely unknown space. But unlike the old Imperial exploration missions, the goal wasn't conquest or resource exploitation. What are our rules of engagement? He asked. Observe, learn, and offer friendship. If a species is hostile, withdraw and report back. If they're peaceful, offer them membership in the Cooperative Council. And if they have technology superior to ours? Admiral Hayes smiled. Then we learn from them. The galaxy is big enough for everyone, Rick. Our job is to prove that civilizations can coexist peacefully. President Lisa Harper stood before the assembled delegates of the Galactic Cooperative Council. Representatives from over 200 species filled the Great Hall. It was the most diverse gathering in galactic history. Friends and colleagues, she began. 5 years ago, our galaxy was ruled by fear and oppression. Today, we stand together as equals, building a future of peace and prosperity for all. The applause was thunderous. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together on joint projects. The Altarians were sharing their medical knowledge. The Centaurians were teaching sustainable agriculture. The humans were providing advanced technology to anyone who wanted it. We still face challenges, Lisa continued. There are still worlds struggling with the transition from imperial rule. There are still species who distrust each other because of old conflicts. But we're proving every day that cooperation is stronger than competition. Elder Grusk of the Keplers stood to address the assembly. The old miner now served as his people's representative to the council. The humans could have conquered us, he said in his gravelly voice. They had the power to rule us as the Empire did. Instead, they chose to free us. They taught us that strength comes not from dominating others, but from lifting them up. Response from the assembly was emotional. Many species had similar stories. The humans had consistently chosen cooperation over conquest, healing over revenge. Former Intelligence Director Nick Campbell now served as Director of Interspecies Communication. His job was to help different species understand each other and resolve conflicts peacefully. We're seeing remarkable progress, he reported to the council. Trade between species has increased by 400%. Interspecies marriages are becoming common. Cultural exchange programs are thriving. What about the remaining Imperial loyalists? Asked Representative Torres from the Wolf system. Most have joined the cooperative willingly. Those who haven't are free to establish their own governments in unclaimed space. We won't force anyone to join us. It was a radical concept. Unlike the Empire, the cooperative respected the right of species to choose their own path. Freedom meant the freedom to say no as well as yes. Dr. Nancy Collins completed her historical analysis of the transition period. The data was remarkable. Despite the collapse of a 3,000-year-old government, the death toll had been minimal. Property damage was light. Most importantly, not a single species had been forced to join the new order. Computer, compile final report on the Imperial transition, she commanded. Report complete. Dr. Collins. Summary. The transformation from imperial rule to cooperative governance represents the most peaceful governmental transition in recorded galactic history. Nancy reviewed the statistics. Life expectancy was up across all species. Educational opportunities had expanded dramatically. Environmental damage was being reversed on hundreds of worlds. Crime rates had plummeted as poverty and desperation decreased. Perhaps most remarkably, she dictated to her report, the species responsible for this transformation chose reconciliation over revenge, cooperation over conquest, and hope over hatred. The human approach to galactic governance represents a new model for interspecies relations. Captain Greg Hayes commanded the peacekeeping vessel Defender as it patrolled the Outer Rim territories. His mission was to protect TH,